Here is part 2 of Locked On Warriors with Kevin Danna, with even more information about what's to come, in addition to obviously breaking down the Warriors, analyzing some even more Santa Cruz Warriors players. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of fun. Enjoy the ride. Here's part 2 with Kevin Danna. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let me ask you this, dude. What is going on with Ryan Rollins? Like, the Warriors, they spent, what, $3 million to move up 5 spots? I've already forgotten the actual specific details of it. Don't quote me on those facts there or those numbers. But it was in that ballpark, right? I think they dropped $2 or $3 million. They moved up 5 places in the second round of the draft. Take this kid, Ryan Rollins, supposedly, ready to play in the NBA, not a project, not raw. And we've barely seen him in the NBA. Now, when I see his stats and when I see him actually playing Santa Cruz, he looks fantastic. He's got a long wingspan. I'd rather have Ryan Rollins playing than Ty Jerome. How's he doing, man? Is he ready for the NBA? How's his progress been in your eyes?
He had a triple-double on Friday. 22, 11, and 10, I think, is what it was. I mean, he looks – the last handful of games, he's looked really, really, really good for Santa Cruz. He's a guy who, he wears it. You could see how much he cares about the game is what I'm trying to say. It bothers him when he misses a shot or doesn't make the right play. He cares about that stuff. And he was sick last night, so he didn't play for Santa Cruz. So I don't know what the illness is or how long he's supposed to be out, but it's probably a big reason why Santa Cruz didn't win last night. They had 8 guys they could play, and one of them, Jerome Robinson, got hurt 3 minutes into the game. But look, Ryan Rollins, I think, can certainly have a future in the league. Got to remember, he only played 2 years at a mid-major level, though, and
Toledo,
the difference
right? Yeah.
from the Mid-American Conference to the G League, let alone the NBA, is really steep. People said he was ready to play in the NBA right away. Who said that? Because I don't remember those conversations.
Oh, well, I mean, I don't know if anyone specifically said that. I mean, I guess I say that largely because, again, if he's not, why spend the money? Why move up in the second round if you?
Because they like the guy, and the Warriors have tons of money.
Well, and I have also heard a lot of college analysts say that he's NBA ready. That, well, first of all, he played 1 extra year as opposed to the one and dones. I guess I heard from a lot of quote unquote analysts, especially when it comes to college ball and mock drafts and all these individuals. They said his game was ready. I did not watch Ryan Rollins in college play, but so are you saying then that you don't think he's NBA ready? Is that what?
No, I'm not saying he's not NBA ready, but if someone goes 44th in the draft, chances are they're going to spend a good chunk of their rookie season in the G League. That's just how it is.
Unless you're that kid Nemhard from Indiana, right?
Yeah, and he was the first pick of the second round.
Right.
So there's a lot of Mark Williams of the Charlotte Hornets Greensboro Swarm, he was a mid-first round pick. He's spending a lot of time in the G League. Mid-second round picks do not turn into rotation players in the NBA in November. It just doesn't happen. Very, very rarely is that the case. And if he's a rotation player on an NBA team, a month into his first NBA season, most likely that team is not competing for a championship.
Well, let's hope that's not the case for the Warriors. See, look at this. John Holmes writes in the comments section. Again, we're live. Mac, referring to Mac McClung, a player you love. You praised him. Mac McClung over Ty Jerome every day of the week. And look what Ty Jerome's done now. He's upset John Holmes' daughter. See what Ty Jerome is doing, man? It just makes me more upset. Okay, kidding aside, you would take Mac McClung over Ty Jerome, right? I mean, what is it about Ty Jerome, Kevin, that you think Steve Kerr loves so much? And before you answer, the obvious answers, which is that he can handle the ball, he's played a few more years, so he knows where to be, he understands the system. They're not winning with him. All right, I need that to be very clear. Every time he gets considerable minutes, whether it was that 5-game road trip earlier in the season, which was an absolute disaster, whether it was last night in Indiana. I forgot the last game he also got minutes in. It was the last time Clay didn't play, and they lost that game too. It doesn't result in success. Why do you think Kerr's playing him so much? I know you have to be careful with your words here, but still, man, you're a part of a show. Give the people what they want. What is it about Ty Jerome that gives him minutes in Steve Kerr's rotation?
Well, I mean, A, another ball handling option, B, like the defensive acumen. All right, I think the decision between Ty Jerome and Mac McClung, in part, I don't know. Like, Ty Jerome does give you more size. He's 6'5", Mac McClung is 6'2", which I don't think is nothing. Mac McClung is a much more explosive player than Ty Jerome. There's no denying that.
Yeah.
He could go out there, and I'd have no doubt that if he could have like a game out of every 5 or 10 where he just goes on like a heater where he scores 10 points in 3 minutes. But yeah, I mean, that's what Ty Jerome gives you, his former first-round pick. Last night was not good for Ty Jerome. There's no denying that. Ty Jerome was also more proven than Mac McClung. Like, right. I'm just from by proven, I mean like he was a first-round draft pick who played 3 years in the NBA. He's got significant time. Mac McClung played like 2 NBA games. I don't think that's that's not nothing.
I hear you. What about Pat Spencer? Like, do you think Pat Spencer is NBA ready? Because I'd rather see Pat Spencer than Ty Jerome.
Pat Spencer's hurt right now.
Oh, son of a bitch. Okay.
Well, yeah, he got hurt after the first 5 games. Well, I do think Pat Spencer could contribute.
I love that kid, man. He's only 20. I didn't realize that. Let's end it on this note. And again, I'm not going to sit here and say doom and gloom, but realistically, Dub Nation and anyone else watching this, the Warriors are going to struggle the next month or so. However long, someone in the chat wrote 4 to 6 weeks for that subluxation,
I think.
Subluxation, thank you. For a subluxation injury, which someone wrote is a slight separation of the shoulder. Makes sense. I believe you. Again, that news came down while we were doing the show live, so apologies for not doing the research there. But the subluxation injury could keep Curry out 4 to 6 weeks. These might be rough times, all right? When you look at the track record of Warriors basketball without Steph, it's not good. The wins and losses don't result in a winning formula. But with that said, it's early in the season. If it is 4 to 6 weeks, that means Steph could come back, late January, early February. It might be rough times. I still think the Warriors will make the playoffs, and then who knows from there. But look, this game tomorrow night, Philadelphia has routinely schooled the Warriors. The Warriors are a diminutive team. Like the fact that they got to now deal with Joel Embiid. They got to deal with I already forgot the power forward's name who makes a lot of money. But they're not a small. Who?
Tobias Harris.
Tobias Harris, thank you. Who's no scrub. He's a good player. Now Draymond Green is listed as questionable. Supposedly, he might not play. That doesn't look good. I don't know. What are your feelings on this 76ers game? Which to me is I'm not keeping my hopes up for that one. I'll put it that way. What are your thoughts?
I want to go back to one more thing, McClung, Ty Jerome first.
Please.
I'm not saying one is better than the other. Like, I think they're two different necessarily in what they bring, even though they're like sort of the same position. They're just kind of different dudes on the court. Big so time. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you look at this road trip, it would be nice to get 1 or 2 wins on it. over the next 4. You don't want to go 0-6. I'm not sure Philadelphia is going to be the easiest one to get, but it's like, all right. Toronto's kind of slumping right now. They've lost 3 straight. The Nets are playing out of their minds recently. They've got it going. The Knicks are now 2 games above 500. I think they've won 3 in a row.
Oh,
so yeah, this is this is going to be tough. I made it my goal for Golden State to get to 17 road wins this year. Oof. I mean, if they come back from this with 3 or 2 road wins on the season, it's going to be tough to get to 17 on the road.
They're not getting there. I don't think they're getting there anymore.
Who knows with Steph's injury. So
I need to address Griffin here real quick. And a few people have asked us, unless Griffin, you were the same person. Griffin writes, why is Iggy taking a roster spot, referring to Andre Iguodala? That's relevant. Just to answer the question. They have an open roster spot already. Like NBA teams can sign up to 15 players. The Warriors are at 14. So if you get rid of Iguodala, I mean, okay, now you just have to replace it with someone else, but they still have an empty spot there. So he's not exactly stealing a roster spot, is what I'm trying to say, from someone else. So that shouldn't matter. I hope we see him soon. I do like watching Iguodala taking on this mentorship role. I see him talking to Kuminga a lot. I like that. What are your thoughts on Kuminga and Moody, by the way? Are you liking what you're seeing from them? I am.
Yeah. I mean, Kuminga the last few games, kind of since like the Minnesota road game, he's really kind of it's clicked for him, it looks like. Yeah. It's really clicked for him. And Moody, I mean, yeah, last night he was great. What was the game against Houston Rockets where he came in, scored 11 points, hit all 3 of his threes?
Yes.
So yeah, no, I mean, I think he's a guy who can roll with the punches, go with the flow, and hopefully it leads to more time for Moses Moody. I think he certainly deserved it. And I'm ready for, now with Steph's injury, I'm ready for 25 minutes a night at Kuminga. Obviously a different position, but around playing half the game or so, and I'm ready for 16 to 20 minutes of Moses Moody a night.
I agree. You say 16 to 20. I want 25. I want 30. I mean, why not? The space is there. That's been my whole gripe with this Lamb Jerome thing, is that why not play Kuminga 35 minutes? Why not play Moody 35 minutes? You said earlier about Wiseman, how you think he could come in right now and play 5 to 10. Why not 15 to 20? Why not give these kids a full run? Let them finish games, play start to finish. Some players have to develop a rhythm out there. They got to get their feet wet. They got to, get warmed up. And not everyone just comes in and contributes right away. Sometimes we've even seen Steph at times have cold first halves only to erupt in the 3rd or 4th quarter. I hope we start seeing these kids more. Some people in the chat were bringing up trades. I don't know. I don't see a trade happening. In your opinion, I know this is strictly an opinion, Kevin. This is not based on anything of truth. This is just us talking Warriors, being hypothetical. Do you see the Warriors making a trade? Because people have mentioned that Bob Myers doesn't like pulling mid-season trades. I think the only one on record that I can think of that was major is the Andrew Wiggins trade that they traded D'Angelo Russell for. Still one of the greatest trades in the history of the NBA. You traded D'Angelo Russell and got Jonathan Kuminga and Andrew Wiggins back. Bravo. Do you see the Warriors making a trade? I know this is just strictly your opinion. This doesn't mean anything. Do not aggregate us, folks. But what are your thoughts? Do you think they're going to do it, or is this the team that we're going to live and die with?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sure. I will say I think they traded Brad Wanamaker for a 2nd-round pick from Charlotte or something like that. That's another trade that obviously that's not as major as Andrew Wiggins. I don't know. I really don't pay attention to the trade market all that much. You got to worry about matching salaries and a guy's value on the trade market. So I don't know. One way or another, really. I'm not really sure.
I hear you, man. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I've heard a few people who I respect tremendously start uttering mention of Wiseman being traded. And when I saw that, I started thinking it might be possible, but yeah, who knows, man? I don't think it's going to happen personally. All right. I think we covered all the bases. Is there anything we did not talk about that we should have talked about? I don't see anything new in the chat. Anything to add? Here, this is a question for you, Kevin, before we go, and that might fulfill my curiosity. As a broadcaster, when the team you're covering is in a situation where it's not the greatest, it's a little gloomy. It's let's take for tomorrow night's game, for example, right? What is your approach to a game like tomorrow where the team you're covering, the team who's paying you, right? So Bob Fitzgerald, you know, I love him. I've known him for a very long time personally, and I think he's a fantastic broadcaster. Sometimes can be a homer. I don't think even he'll deny that. But again, the Warriors pay him, so what do you expect? So when you go into a game like that, what's your approach? Like, are you coming up with a lot of research for positive things? Are you starting to dig up like anecdotes, like stories, like what baseball broadcasters do, where they have to fill just a lot of empty space? Is there any difference in your approach? How do you approach games when you know your team that you're covering is in a bad situation?
I don't change my approach. I have the same process. And, well, the process changes depending on how much I'm getting paid for the process. If I'm getting paid more, then I'm going to care more. But, like, for the Santa Cruz Warriors, I care because they pay me well. And so, like, for a Santa Cruz Warriors game, if I wasn't busy getting ready for the entire league, the G League showcase, I probably can't do Locked On next week just because I don't know what my schedule is with the G League showcase. But I'm probably going to do, like, 6 to 8 games in 4 days.
Sounds good. I'm bummed. I mean, it doesn't sound good. We're going to miss you, but congrats on the gig. That's an awesome gig, man. Can you tell people about the G League showcase real quick? Because people do not. First of all, the G League needs to improve their website stat keeping. I'm sure you can attest to that, right? Like,
amen, I tried to look brother. It's gotten better. It has gotten better, but the problem is, like, like one stats page will say one thing and another stats page will say something else, and so it gets frustrating. But you're right.
It's very frustrating. Because I was trying to look up James Wiseman stats the other night, and the only way I could dig them up is not through the NBA's G League website. It was through like the Santa Cruz Warriors website. It was literally doing the type of research I was doing when I was back in my academic days, when I was actually a research assistant.
Real GM is your answer to every question.
Really? Real GM?
Real GM. Just
all right.
Google search James Wiseman, real GM, and you will get his stats from Memphis, Golden State, and Santa Cruz all on one page.
I love it. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. So, like, to answer your question, I will watch the opponent play their last 2 games. Obviously, I've watched every game that my team has played. I have an 8.5 by 11 sheet of legal paper with info on every player, their coach, their last 2 games, this season stats, last season stats. I get through my process. That's all that that's all that matters to me. I don't think about what I'm going to say during the show for the most part.
Fair enough.
Like, the ball goes up in the air and you react to what happens. So yeah. And like, I mean, like the Santa Cruz Warriors turned it over like 22 times a game this year. Like, I'm not going to like try to like massage that and say, oh, but what about all the possessions they don't turn it over, right? Like, like, no, I'm going to say they gotta not shoot themselves in the foot all the time. Like, I'm not gonna like pretty up numbers. I'm not like one of those PR director, like these SIDs in college where they can't write loss in a headline. It has to say suffers setback. Like I'll like, like if they're getting murdered, I'll say like, Warriors, they cut it to 37, Santa Cruz putting some lipstick on the pig or something like that. Like I'm not gonna hide away from the fact that my team's just getting demolished. Like,
fair enough.
Sometimes those games can be fun in their own way. One quick story on this, which I know this isn't what you guys asked for, but this is the 2019-20 season. We lose to the Windy City Bulls at home by like 36, 37 points. And we interview a Santa Cruz player after every game, even after games where we get murdered. And so Juan Toscano Anderson was our post-game guest. He tells our sideline reporter, who is 22, this is like one of her first jobs out of college.
Zeta?
We're on NBC Sports Bay Area. No, this is Addison Van Patten, who's gone on to do some nice things in Wisconsin. I think she's in Green Bay right now doing sports reporting. He says on air, "We effing suck tonight." Except he didn't say effing. He said the full word. This was on TV. And like our reporter's probably shocked. I'm just laughing my ass off. Like, it's like live TV, G League. Welcome to the G League, folks. One of our players just said the F word on the air. And then like Addison pulled him aside at the next practice. And Juan's like, well, yeah, we effing sucked. So that's what I said. Oh, I love Juan for it. But yeah. So no, I don't try to think of good stats to tell.
I like that. I respect that. Let's finish on two.
If I do, I will lean into it with like a very like PR-y, like state-run media kind of like tactic. I mean, you're basically talking to the state every time you talk to me anyway. I don't know what your listeners get out of me coming on this show, but I appreciate coming on here. I like.
Well, I'm guessing they respect the ever living what out of the fact that you actually know the game of basketball. You're a phenomenal broadcaster, and at a minimum, you're around the Santa Cruz Warriors so much, and sometimes greatness comes from there. So they are an incubator for this team. I do want to finish on two questions. One is I'm going to finish on a very lighthearted question. These were both in the chat, but Nick Fensky writes, drop Lamb and Jerome for their two ways and give the two ways to Trevion Williams and Marquise. And I think Marquise refers to Marquise Chris. I don't know if Marquise Chris would be eligible for a two-way deal at this point. I know he's out there.
I think he's played too many years in the NBA.
Yeah, you're exact. There you go. Thank you. So, but Trevion Williams, every time I see him, I like what I see. I'd rather have him than the Lamb Chop. He's bigger. He's a much more natural center. Again, I just love when he does this little one-handed thing. Reminds me of Jordan a little bit, or Dennis Rodman. He used to do that. In your opinion, is Trevion Williams NBA ready? Like, do you think he could help if they called him up?
I think he could have a future. What Trevion needs to work on, I love watching him play. Like you mentioned, he's got big hands. He can palm that thing. He flips it behind his back like a little flip like this behind his back to a teammate. He is so fun to watch. He rebounds the hell out of the basketball. Just absolutely inhales it.
Yes.
He's around, though, like 54-ish% on shots on the rim in a league where the average is 60%. So Trevion needs to finish a little bit better around the rim. He passes almost to a fault where, like, he's so focused on getting his teammates set up. Last night, he had an offensive rebound. He could have just laid it back up and in, but he kicks it out, to a guy trying to shoot it, for a three. So, yeah, I mean, I think he has a shot to get a two-way or a 10-day at some point, whether that's this year or next. Like, he is an intriguing player. I do think the offense, his scoring around the basket needs to come around a little bit. But man, defensive rebounding and offensive rebounding, like he is a very, very high level rebounder, high level passer, and he needs to cut down on his turnovers a little bit as well. Cause I think he's averaging, I think he has more turnovers than assists on this season by like 1 or 2. At least that's what it was going in to last night's game.
Love it. I really hope we see him with the Golden State Warriors soon. I'm going to turn this into a two-parter for the recorded version. So if you're watching this right now, we're in part 2. Oops, wrong thing I brought up. I wanted to quickly say, Kenny a Jet writes, God, I know we're going to see more Ty Jerome. You better wash your mouth out with soap for that. Shame on you for bringing that type of negativity to this show. I'm being facetious. And then this is a question, though, that's serious. And it's a fun note to end the show on. Count Stankula writes, and this let's apply this to both of us. Who's your favorite non-Warriors player in the NBA? Kevin, I'll start with you. Who do you like watching the most who is not a member of the Golden State Warriors?
Jared Vanderbilt. Love him. Offensive rebounding machine. Plays his ass off. I can't take my eyes off Jared Vanderbilt when he's on the floor. I mean, that he might not be my favorite player, but like that's like the guy that I like man, I love watching this guy. I have an affinity for guys who aren't really 3-point shooters for some reason. That's like the one thing I can do on the court. But like, I love guys like Jared Vanderbilt who are just like all heart, all hustle, all length.
Yeah.
So I'm a big Jared Vanderbilt fan. Obviously, he's not going to be an all-star anytime soon. He probably never will be. But man, I just really like watching him play.
Yeah, and I agree with Trey Underwood, who writes, I did not expect that. I agree. That's out of left field for sure, but I love it. And that's a name that's actually been linked to the Warriors a lot and all these trade rumors being thrown out there. So I think what you're trying to say is if the Warriors get him, that's an awesome move, right? I mean,
I just said the Warriors are trading. No, just kidding. I don't even want that to get aggregated. I'm messing around. But
my answer is weird for a totally different reason, by the way. As odd as this may sound, I love watching Jimmy Butler play for a similar reason. Like, he doesn't rely on the three, so he has to actually be creative in his shot taking. And then and he's just such a hustle player, man. I love when he just turns into beast mode. And Zion Williamson, in terms of the price of admission, when he plays, I'm entertained. I really am. I take joy in watching this kid play.
I mean, sorry, I was just gonna say, from an all-star perspective, I love watching Giannis. Like Giannis, Kevin Durant. I mean, LeBron James was my favorite player in the NBA, you know, for like the last, basically since he's been in the NBA. So, but like, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, and if you're going like old school, Michael Jordan was my number one by far. And then Kobe Bryant, I also loved watching play. I love their style. Just the scoring, the two guards who are all about scoring. For some reason, they just appealed to me. And then Stephen Curry clearly is number one.
Ooh. Hey, by the way, someone put it in the chat from Warriors PR. The Warriors have recalled Ryan Rollins and James Wiseman.
That is correct. That is confirmed. I'm so glad we squeezed that in there right before we go. So yeah. It's confirmed. My other Locked On Warriors partner, Kylan Mills, just tweeted this out as well, that the Warriors have recalled Ryan Rollins and James Wiseman, which means that they're going to be ready for tomorrow night in theory. That's exciting. What are your thoughts on that before we go? Ryan and James Wiseman will likely play in Philly.
Absolutely love to see it. Yeah, no, big fan. And yeah, this is an opportunity, especially for Ryan Rollins, right? Because that's his position, essentially. So he's got it. I mean, I'm not sure if he's going to get in there, but he has much more of a chance to play now that Steph will not be playing tomorrow night.
AC is asking, how's Guy Santos doing? What are your thoughts on
that? I like Guy. He had a good, I think he had 14 and 7 last night. His rebounding was infectious in their win over Oklahoma City. He's been shooting around low to mid 30s, right around 33% plus-ish from three. He was really good in Summer League. I think my line on him is like he's 20 right now. By the time he's 25, I think he could be a rotation player in the NBA. Like if he stays like kind of on this path, who knows? Maybe Europe, the money gets too good. But yeah, I think you give this guy a little bit of time to cook. He's 6'7" with a 7'1" wingspan and already has some panache. Yeah, and now he's kind of he's showing a real strong desire out there, getting offensive rebounds, fighting for loose balls, diving on the deck. Yeah, I like Guy. I like Guy a lot.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Do you think have you observed Steve Kerr when it comes to coaching the team without Steph? Does he simplify things a little more in your opinion? Is it the same system, no tweaks? Because Steph is just so masterful at everything, but his basketball IQ is like, I don't think anyone tops it. Draymond Green is very comparable. But without him, do you see Kerr simplifying things? Has he in the past? I can't really remember.
I can't really remember either. I mean, I don't know. You would think that like you have to play differently when Steph's not on the floor.
Yeah.
So my guess would be, yeah, it's not going to look the exact same way just because he's one of one. But yeah.
There we go. Well, folks, I hope we covered everything. Thank you, everyone, for engaging in the chat. Thank you, Kevin Danna, for spending an hour with me today. I think we're done. Are we done?
Anything else? Done.
All right, let's get the hell out of here. All right. Thank you, Kevin. Sorry, folks, that we were the bearer of so much not great news. Stephen Curry, again, will be out Who knows? He's got the subluxation. Oh, I nailed it. It took the third try. Subluxation, which I guess means a slight separation in the shoulder. Wiseman and Rollins are called up, and we'll see what happens with the Warriors tomorrow night in Philly. Thank you, everyone. Oh, look, one of my favorite new people who I just met, Crystal Wallace. Hope you're feeling better. If there is an awesome Warriors fan out there, she is it. Thanks for joining the chat. Kevin, good luck with the call tomorrow night. Who do the Santa Cruz Warriors play?
G-League Ignite, baby. Last game before they head over to Vegas for the showcase. So,
good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, my man. I might see you in 2 weeks, I guess. Merry Christmas if I don't see you before then. Yeah. Thanks, everyone.